excited about, right?
I guess.
I
I have
What's
what's
what?
new. So,
What's new?
There you go. That works too. Let me see.
all right. There we go. Okay, welcome everybody. So glad to have you on board with us. Let's see here. There
Jazz
we go.
hands.
Hello, hello,
Welcome,
internet
welcome,
people.
welcome, everybody, to episode 26 of the podcast Unlimited Wisdom with Robert Hollis. And I'm Craig Jackman along with Matt Hollis. Matt and Robert,
Hello, hello.
welcome. We are so glad to have you with us today. Today, we're going to discuss what's new. It's very simple. What's new? And I know that we've got a lot of things going on. So then let's just get started, gentlemen. Go for
Why
it.
not? I
Yeah.
mean,
Who
Dad, you
wants to
just
go?
got back from a worldwide trip. Do you got stuff? What's new with you?
Oh yeah,
What's new been going on in your life?
yeah. I went to Budapest and then Budapest to Vienna, Austria, and then there to Bratislava, Slovakia, and
Bratislava, Slovakia. Yes, I.
get gooder and gooder all the time. And yeah, we were just on a world tour. I built a group there 5 years ago. I think we have, I don't know, maybe 4,000 active affiliates and customers there. And of course, we're launching a new brand over there called Akashics. And it has to do with digital trading and stuff. And it was just, I was blown away. I've been doing this stuff for 37 years. And the people that never ever won at what I was doing, they weren't people that would build a brand. They weren't people that, would build an audience or build a YouTube channel or social media influencer. And they would always get involved in whatever program I was in, but they never believed in themselves to actually reach out and like connect with strangers or try to sell product. They just, didn't want to be the face of anything. And now they get to, learn on their own and just learn to trade on their own. And the success stories were just like never ending. People that were these super shy people. I was telling Matt today, I got to give a shout out to Scott. Scott just, passed phase 2 and got funded. And so I wanted to celebrate him. And because he's always been a part of the Telegram group, the Trade Stars. And I reached out to him and I just said, hey, I'm going to tag you. I'd like to be your friend on Facebook. I wasn't even his friend. And I said, I'd like to tag your upline too. And he's going upline. He had no clue that he was in a network marketing company, knew nothing about MDC. He seen my link on social media and clicked on Akashics and got started.
Isn't that how it usually happens?
When I was asking him what his username is, he's like, "What?" He didn't even know that he was any part of anything else. He's just as excited about learning the art of trading and making money for him and his family. And so, I just told him a little bit. I said, well, when you feel comfortable, you could share your results on social media, and if people want to get started like you did, you would just give them your affiliate link and you'd actually get paid on them up front and every month that they were a member. And he's like, what? So that's what I'm excited about right now because I'm seeing a lot of people win in all different kinds of countries and there's a lot of excitement behind it. And I can't wait for the Saturday tomorrow on AMA. That'll be the whole thing I want to talk about is talk about how old is trading and how long has people been, trading actually started before money.
You're talking about like bartering.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just keep going further and further
It's true.
back, right?
And the
Yeah,
value, how much it is worth at that particular moment. Instead of being 3 skins for the meal, you're going to pay 4 skins or whatever.
yeah.
Anyways,
something like
you got
that.
my, yeah.
Or
Oops.
5 skins.
I was
Or
gonna
5
say,
skins.
know,
5
there you
skins.
go,
There we
yeah.
go.
I was gonna say some places they still do have bartering systems. They still Yep. Even to
Yeah,
get married.
yeah. And so that's what's new for me. I mean, I get a couple of weeks here, and then we go to Dallas, and then from Dallas the week after that we go to Dubai. I've never been to Dubai before, and I see all this stuff, and it's funny when I do talk to people that have been there, they're just like it's unlike any city that they've ever visited because it's just so grandiose of over and above everything, you know. So they set out to say, okay, we want people here to have the best scuba diving experience. We want people to have the best driving experience. We want people to have the best skiing experience. It's like any experience that you can possibly think of. They just want to take it tenfold better than everywhere else you could go in the world. And I was just like, wow, that's what an interesting thought. You know, the modern day Las Vegas.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that was like the whole concept of Las Vegas. Even when I went there young, like when we would go, it's like you had Circus and like other random ones that were big at the time. Now they're like dinosaurs in comparison to, you got the Sphere there and all that other stuff in Vegas. It
Yeah.
would not surprise me if Dubai had their own Sphere at some point or something
I
similar.
Or
think they
or
are planning one actually.
or probably
Yeah.
had the first one, and then you never know. It's like they do some pretty crazy stuff out there. So that's what I'm excited about. And Craig, Matt, what are you guys excited about?
Okay.
I'm excited.
Matt,
I mean,
go.
Craig, go for it if you want.
No, you
You
started.
know
Go
I'm gonna
for
be
it.
long-winded. No, I'm just ecstatic every single day, every single week. It seems like AI is speeding up exponentially. I was just talking to my older brother about it. Um, because it's taken like, I just got my hair cut too, and it's like I can't sit down with someone and not have a conversation about it, right? Like,
Yeah,
not only am I incredibly inspired by it, but it's like the fact that like nobody really talks about this shit or is aware of how useful it is, right?
yeah.
Like I still don't think have either one of you guys like sat down and had a long conversation with the voice model from ChatGPT?
Yeah,
Now
not yet. I think
I'm trying to find time to have a language model with my son. I haven't talked to in about like feels like a month.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'll train one and you could talk to him anytime you want. No, I'm just kidding.
oh,
No,
Dang.
I
no,
don't know.
it's
With some
like
of the videos you've shared, Matt, recently, it's going to make everybody
right.
wonder who you're actually talking to.
Well,
It wasn't.
that's we passed that.
Yeah, one of the things that's pretty crazy is that giant strike that everyone freaked out about that was going to happen with all the ship people, on the East Coast, all the docks and
Right.
loading thing. And the number one thing that they said is they wanted their jobs protected because they believe that robots and electronics are going to take over all their jobs.
That's
That was
why the actors went on strike, and with the entertainment industry had that spate of strikes. I mean, it wasn't just the actors; it was the writers too, because of what AI possibly is able and capable of doing.
Yeah,
right.
it's like people striking in radio saying we should limit television because it's going to take our jobs. It's a completely and totally different form of technology. And what's interesting about older pieces of technology is people tend to that like they're nostalgic for them, so they want them to stay around. Oh, we're going to shoot a movie and film even though digital's caught up and can create images similarly, right? There's always going to be those different types of people, but what always fascinates me is when there's a large group of people going, we want to keep things the way that it is, as if we don't live in a capitalist country. Like that's how
Yeah.
businesses die. If you do not adapt with what the current technology is and where things are going, you're going to be left behind.
Blockbuster Netflix for
And
sure.
so, yes, you could like say, I want these rights or I want these rights or whatever. The reality is it's like you're asking for rights to a printing press when the computer just was invented. It's
Yeah.
like we're not even in the same realm or category of business that you expect or think because just a lot of people it hasn't clicked into their mind yet because they haven't really used it, right?
Right.
Like there's not a day that goes by where I don't use AI for business. And people the amount of time, energy, and effort that I have to put into creating things or doing things now in comparison to just training an AI to do it is like night and day. I could pop out like 20 graphics that would have taken me all this time, and instead I just took the time to learn how to train an AI and train an AI to do it on my computer, right?
Your
And so
graphics
now
are
it's like,
awesome too, man.
isn't it insane? Like how
Yeah, and
fast
I've even
too?
noticed how it helps with certain writing too, or giving me ideas. And that's the thing that I love about it is, using it as a tool, because I know that a lot of people are using it for more than just that.
Right,
But as I don't know, for my integrity, let's say,
right.
Yeah, it's a
because
spell check for your mind and creativity.
Thank you. Repeat that one again, Matt.
Yeah, I was saying it's a spell check for your mind and creativity. So it's like if you had the ability, and some people say that they do have this, right? Like some people are spiritual. I know, Dad, you're this way, where it's like I'm connecting to a higher source and gaining
Right.
that. Um, yes, every single one of us now on our phones have the ability to connect with that higher level of intelligence and pick its mind and brainstorm with it as much as we want. It's
Yes.
just a majority of people don't want to do it, right? Or are unaware of it. And so every single time I get a question from somebody now, I'm like, have you asked ChatGPT this question before? Because there's not something that I've run into yet that it couldn't help me with at least a little bit or point me in the right direction. And that blows my mind. Like I
Yeah.
said, the 4.0 model before O1, which is in preview right now, but O1 that's just in preview, passed the Mensa test with a 98% percentile. That's that's like Albert Einstein level intelligence, and you can use it right now on your phone and ask it anything you want, or use it to help with writing emails, coming up with a story, creating graphics, coming up with a business plan, how to contact people, how to write to people, anything you want. And people don't utilize it for like much of anything, I think. And the people
Yeah.
that's interesting is that the people that do utilize it are crushing everybody else.
Right.
It's yeah, so
There was one of the things that, the whole constant, when I was a mechanic, of course, we seen this all the time. I could go on forever. And, there just became a thing where, you're basically pulling on a stick that was pushing against the tire in a leverage to slow things down, and to think that someone came up with said, well, what if we could put shoes inside a drum? And we could push it out against the drum instead on the outside, we could slow it down. And everybody went, you got to be stupid. There's no way that you can put things inside a drum. And then, wait a minute, now every car's got it. And then all of a sudden someone said, I think we could get better braking if we use disc. Well, what are you talking about? Well, we'll just put a big disc on the hub and then we'll use the pads to squeeze on both sides of it. Well, we'll call it disc brakes instead of drum brakes.
yeah.
It's like right away, everyone just goes, oh my God, do you think that's possible? So being a mechanic, watching things go from manual shift to automatic shift, to go manual steering to power steering, to go from manual brakes to power brakes. Wait a minute, then power windows, then power seats. So for me to watch the evolution of all this from the time that I was very young, you know what I mean, 13, 14 years old, and watch the evolution of technology. And now all of a sudden, like we just talked about, I built race cars, you know what I mean, and built freaking fast ones. And the fastest car I ever built, we probably spent like $280,000 on this car. 34 or 35,000 was on the motor alone that produced 1,000 horsepower. And we would go out and run it on the drag strip and run 990s. And now I have 1,020 horsepower car sitting in my garage. It's a Tesla Model S, and it runs it almost a second faster. While you're listening to the radio and listening to air conditioning, and you're not burning the
It could
tires
drive
off of
itself
it,
also.
and
Yeah.
and you don't need a parachute to stop it.
Yeah,
And
no, I
it keeps
mean,
it keeps traction. So when you jump on it, the tires don't burn. And now you got to correct it all while you're grabbing gears, not taking out the other car or the wall next to you.
Makes you
Right.
wonder about how drag racing is going to end up being, because when you think about it, the fun of drag racing is watching those big huge tires shimmy back and forth
Oh
before they
yeah.
finally grab and then propel the car down
I mean, we
the
still
quarter
race
mile.
horses.
Oh, we could do that. Yeah, but then
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the thing is I don't think any of this stuff, everyone's always worried about AI replacing things. And I think that's just because it's been sold to people in that direction.
Right.
The reality is we're on the precipice of a whole new invention of a lot of things. If
Everything.
you were looking, like I brought up earlier, the printing press or the internet, if you're sitting on one of those big things like say the internet and you're trying to have a conversation with people about the internet, I can imagine this is probably a similar situation. You're like, no, you can actually talk with anybody across the entire planet. And they're like, bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, how much money does that cost? It's like, no, actually, it's way cheaper than calling has ever been.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Well, I
Right? Like
heard
most people would say,
with all the
there's no way
people
that's going to
right.
happen.
Yeah. Well, with all the
Right?
people right now that because of the uh hurricane, there's all these people now that are out of power. And
All that happened where Hannah grew up.
yeah.
So
And
yeah.
so immediately, people are saying, Elon Musk comes out and just says, "Hey, listen, just like in the other disasters, everyone can have free Wi-Fi." And all of a sudden we got United now that's getting Starlink. They're getting, because they're just saying that trying to pick up signals on towers is not effective anymore. And so now they're using low altitude satellite. Well, it's pretty neat that someone was thinking about this a few years ago. I mean, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have free Wi-Fi all over the world, or connected Wi-Fi all over the world? So I'll just start a rocket company, because then I don't have to pay myself to put up my own satellites.
Well, it's interesting. I was thinking about this with Elon the other day. I think Elon is just really, really good at taking the next logical step. And the issue is that we've become so late stage capitalism in the United States that a business will actively, when it gets to the top, stop innovation that's not in-house.
Yeah.
And so since that's a capability of businesses, you have the lack of innovation. You need to just have somebody to push through that to get to the logical next step. Yes, we need
Good
renewable
point.
rockets. Yes, we need electric cars. All of these things were possible earlier. We just weren't, no one was able to push towards them because there was too much money and time invested in the opposite direction. And you'd
Right.
have those same things brought up as like, we're going to lose jobs in coal or whatever. It's like, fucking China doesn't care about losing jobs in coal. They've already pushed a lot into renewable energy, and we're sitting here having conversations about old fashioned energies still,
It
right?
is
And
it
it's
is
like it's an
bizarre.
oh,
interesting conversation because it's like, yeah, we can go back to the Blockbuster conversation from earlier,
Yeah.
right?
oh yeah. I mean, you look at Netflix or any business really when you think about it, because isn't it, we're supposed to be advancing, we're moving forward and not taking away from, I know there's kind of a little political implication with what I'm going to say is we can't look back. We don't look back. The more we look back, the worse we're going to be, oh, that's Robert, your favorite phrase about, that's not the way it used to be or
Right.
whatever it was,
The most dangerous phrase ever spoken is, "This is the way it's always been."
this is the way it's always been. Yeah.
Yeah, it is like, we shouldn't be changing this. And why I'm excited, of course, Matt, is you become who you hang around. They always say take the five people that are around, and me hanging around you and you being excited about AI and where it's going. My whole thing is I just constantly look at stuff like this as constant leveling up. It's just always, another level, another level, another level. And if not if when AI starts doing the things that I no longer need to do so that I can impact more people, I mean, are you kidding me? It's like, I do remember, Matt, and this is a funny statement. I just think that you should keep talking about your excitement about AI. But I was in the place where, someone was saying, you could pay for this if you wanted to with a credit card. I had those conversations. A credit card. Yeah, you can go to your bank and they'll give you a piece of plastic that accesses your bank account. And you could just pay with credit card. You don't have to go get a money order and staple it to an application and mail it to Memphis, Tennessee. And people were like, that ain't never fucking happening. I'm not walking around with a card. Now people are like, it's funny. I don't want to beat up. I don't want to beat up. I don't want to beat up the United States, but whenever I go to, Amsterdam and I see the way the passport thing is, I mean, that airport, if I think if a person looked it up, Amsterdam's airport has got to be in the top 5 of where people go through the most. It's just one of those hubs. And you go through Paris and it's a bad version of JFK in the United States. I'm serious. And then you go to Amsterdam and it's like, no exaggeration, you're physically watching hundreds of thousands of people move and no one's upset. They all come to a deal and they all go do about 50 lanes. And as they're walking through the 50 lanes, there's 3 guys that are border people that are sitting in these little top things, right? And everybody's walking through and putting their passport in the scanner, and this thing comes up and takes a picture of your face and it turns green and you're gone.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching me and 50 people at a time all go through this, going from one country to another. It is just like, and of course, some of them turn red and they open it up and the person comes over and they figure out whatever their thing is. But I've seen, and all the times that I've been through there, probably 10 times, I've seen one turn red. You know what I mean? And they're just so freaking advanced on technology. And now it's slowly getting to the United States. So when I got on planes going to Amsterdam, wow, Delta had one of those right at the gate. I didn't show my ticket or my passport. You walked up, glanced at it, it went beep, and they said, "Thank you, Mr. Hollis," and you just walk in.
Yeah, I experienced that last year when I went on my cruise.
I can't wait for the person to go, "You ain't doing that to me." Then you're just not getting on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing is like I was gonna say it's culture and it's expectations, right? Like there's a certain level of expectation that we as Americans, because of our own culture, are a part of. And so everything that we had, if you were raised in the wild, wild west, I wasn't, because a lot of I'm like a pre 9/11 kid. There wasn't wild, you couldn't just walk up to the planes and get on them, you know what I mean, without security and a million other things. And I think in those societies as well is that there's not a lack of respect for the people that are in charge and the people that are running those things, because they know that they'll be handled with respect as well.
Yeah.
So it's like overall, like that feeling of heightened security that you have going to the airport here in comparison to there, it's like their public transportation or all of that stuff is run in such a way. And I even think I brought this up already, but I had this conversation with Hannah because they constantly bring up here in California that they're going to make high-speed rail between LA and Vegas and San Diego and San Francisco, right? Because it would just make things so much easier. You think to yourself, like, how amazing it would be to hop on a train and be in San Francisco in an hour and a half from LA.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? And the possibilities of business and all the different things like that, like a bullet train, like in Japan. And they always constantly bring this stuff up. But the reality is it's very hard to do public transit in the United States because we're so unpredictable and unapologetic that the trams would never be consistently on time like they are in Japan and Amsterdam. People would lose their shit just like they do on airplanes when the airplanes get delayed. there's just a difference in expectations.
and lifestyle when you really think about it, because
Patience.
yeah, because
Yeah.
when you think, like, okay, in San Francisco, just as an example, that city was kind of built, and New York, I will say, both cities were built around public transportation, especially over the years. And Los Angeles had that as a start back. I always like to say this: the movie Who's Framing Roger Rabbit is actually partially true. Yes, it's animated. It's a great movie. I love it because I love to see all the cartoon characters. I'm a cartoon geek, but the background of it, of the red car and the trolley system that was here in LA, that should have taken hold, but because of the emerging auto industry, they killed it. And so now we are left with whatever it is we're calling a transportation system, probably about 50 years behind schedule to compete with something like what London, New York, and San Francisco have. And even
Right.
San Francisco, just to put that up, you're talking about not just a city, but a city that has a lot of ups and downs, meaning hills
Yeah.
and things like that. And the transportation is
driven
going to
them.
go through all that.
Yeah, it's always blows my mind because like I brought up earlier with Elon Musk, like the most logical next step, right? And then how there's a lack of decision making into that next logical step because you can actively have businesses like the car industry go against any forms of public transportation because it's easier to sell cars.
Money,
Now,
money, money in money in
on the back end of
politics and
that,
lobbyists and
And
you have more,
profits.
well, you also have more car fatalities, which is one of the largest causes of death in the United States, especially California. So you have more car fatalities, more DUIs, more everything else because you don't have public transportation. And yet everybody has to pay for cars which gas keeps going up. They have to gas them, right? And if you don't have a gas car, you have to have an electric one. Then of course you have the impact on the environment. There's so many different decisions that go into it not being the right logical decision that you have to look at it and be like, that's money and stupidity. Like there's
yeah.
just no other way to get around it,
And
right?
it goes
so when you
back.
travel,
Yeah,
you
I was
go,
going to say, and it
what the
goes
hell am I
back
getting
to,
fed here, right?
yeah, and it goes back to, well, that's the way we've always done it.
Well,
And
that's why
not
people want coal and gas still. Like,
yeah, and I know we're talking about what's
What
new.
happens?
It's not
I'm
just
sorry.
about
What happens with when AI actually creates an energy that's better than anything we've seen before?
people are going to fight
well,
it.
well, we
Yeah.
already have it. It's nuclear. It's just
Nuclear fission, I think, is what is the safest of the two.
there's multiple different ways to do nuclear, and I think like it's one of those age-old things. Like there's a million situations like this, right? Like you could build a bunch of solar panels in the desert and get enough power for all the United States. It would cost nothing. Or you could use the Hoover Dam and multiple of the waterways because the United States has an abundance of rivers and stuff, and use water to generate power and power the whole United States for the cost of almost nothing. And yet neither one of those is as good as burning things.
Well, at the moment, I mean, we
Well,
know the difference.
Hey, let's get back on subject.
But in a sense, this
Oh,
is
we
what's
get
new,
it, man. I wanna
right?
What
Because
you
we're
guys
looking
are
at
excited about.
I'm excited about the aspect that humanity is no longer going to be at the controls, because I think like in a lot of ways you're going to have these incredibly smart people, and Sam Altman said this, right? Like you're going to have these people that grow billion-dollar businesses, and it's just going to be a lot of AI agents in them.
Yeah.
And they're going to learn how to communicate with AI and invent the next version of the corporations that will replace the ones I was just talking about.
Yep.
Right.
I agree.
And so since that's the case, they can fight it all they want. But I'm just, if there's something that I'm incredibly excited about, it's watching in leaps and bounds how we're on such that exponential curve up now. And it's been that way my whole life. Like to think that there was thousands of years of barely to no innovation in humanity. And then in the last 200, just because of the invention of computers, technology, now AI, you're seeing an exponential growth, and the next 5 years will make the next 100 years look like they weren't anything because of AI.
Right.
and I'm already seeing that. So
Well,
Oh,
me,
it's
Craig, what are you excited about?
Oh gosh. Well, I will say I'm excited about quite a few things. One thing, of course, is
How are your trades going?
I was just going to say that. Yeah, the trades. I mean, I have to say that learning something new, it's been a while since I've actually wanted to learn something new that I am, okay, as you like to say, emotionally excited about. And that's what this is. It's just, it's exciting that I can, pardon me, learn with other people's money.
I love that.
And I'm taking course. It's in a sense, it's you're taking a course to learn about how to do something with other people's money, that when you complete the course, depending on how much time you want to spend on it, you're going to get an 80-20 split based on the other people's money who you are working with. And that is what I really enjoy about that. It's exciting to learn. You are a mentor of mine, Robert, hands down. But the other thing too is there are other mentors for us out in the world that relate to what it is that we are also doing. In other words, you're an overall mentor for me, but there are the mentors that are involved in the trading
Yeah.
community, or in the arts community, or in the business community, wherever you
Like Matt
happen to
said,
be
AI,
from.
AI. It's like,
AI community, yeah. And whatever it is that you're going to do, there is a mentor, there is somebody out there that you can learn from, which you teach us, Robert, all the time.
yeah,
And the people that we all need to kind of take a moment and say, okay, is this good for me? And how do I feel about it? Is this worth pursuing? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's up to you to make that decision. But it is exciting when we first start. And what I love
yeah.
about it is, I think Abraham Hicks has said this quite a few times, where, okay, you shoot that rocket up in the air and you put your
A
energies to it.
desire rocket.
A desire rocket. Yeah, rocket of desire. And you put your energy, your emotion, what you are into it, and all of a sudden things start coming to you.
Yeah,
And it's not just through Abraham Hicks, but a lot of other people say what you focus on. Follow one course until success. And that's why a
right.
lot of people do succeed. And so this is an incredible time with, and I'll go over to Matt too, with AI, with you, with whatever, the trainings that you share with us, because I know you want us to all benefit
Yeah,
from everything.
yeah, I'm really, when I see people excited to learn, you know, there's one thing that you said is, see, there's certain things that I look at in the world that they do take some kind of physical attribute, you know? So all of a sudden you look at someone that's a really good football player, or a really good basketball player, or a soccer player, and everyone would love to be that. Unfortunately, I believe that sometimes genetics stop that from happening. And maybe upbringing or whatever. But what I get really, really exciting about learning something is one of the things my first mentor said to me, and I think both of you have heard this multiple times, but it's really deep in my psyche right now, is that he goes, listen, if your knee wasn't hurt, where would you be going? I said, I'm going to be a crew chief. Now, I'm starting to learn more about personal development, right? I never ever said to anybody that asked me what I was going to be, I never remember saying, well, one day I hope and it would be cool and I wish to be a crew chief. I just fucking never said that. I said, I know the path of what others took. I am going to be a crew chief. That's where I'm going. And he goes, so why do you want to be a crew chief? And it's funny that the first thing that I mentioned was crew chiefs get paid more than an automotive engineer. And when I said that, he picked up immediately. So he said, this is a journey that you're taking, you believing that the fulfillment and being satisfied and fulfilled, but you're looking at this as a definite way to increase your income. Because it was the first thing that I said. It wasn't that I want to be a crew chief because I love recruiting and training and building a team of individuals that can win a world championship. See, that I just got chills. That wasn't what came out of my mouth. I was looking at the position as a way to make money. And so he says, so having a job is a way to make money. And I said, yeah. I mean, what are you talking about? And that's when he said to me, he goes, well, if a person's goal was to make money, they should just focus on making money. To think that that was something that someone said to me almost 40 years ago, and now it's coming back to me, where for 37 years, I've done multiple things to make money. The recruitment and training of people, helping people with their skills, constantly teaching people how to sell a product or a service, how to go out and recruit people to make and supplement their income. I've never ever thought that, hey, we can just focus on making money. Just focus on trading gold and make money. What else? Nothing else. So I'm sort of having a really, what I'm really excited about is I'm having like this warp thing that's happening to me, where virtually everything I already sort of knew just is really coming clear. I posted something the other day to really get you guys going crazy, and I sent it to, I think, you guys. But all I did is I asked AI, how much has the universe expanded in the last 30 years? Don't want to play with anyone's mind, but it's growing and expanding at about 7 kilometers per second. That's 5 miles a second that our whole universe is expanding. And it's also picking up speed. So when people see the planets all hung from strings, they don't understand that the Earth is moving at 25,000 miles an hour, while the planets are going around it. We're all going around the sun, but all the planets are moving and expanding through space. It's not 1 or 2 dimensional. So when you throw that last dimension in, what? Yeah, the Earth is flying through the universe. More universes and black holes are being created. More dark matter is being created. And all of a sudden you get people going, what the fuck are you talking about, right? Because when I look at AI is coming to us because of a part of that expansion, a part of that evolution, where now people are starting to go, wow, there looks like this vibration frequency net that's out there that's holding the planets in place. So instead of just hanging out there, now all of a sudden people see a bunch of zeros and ones connecting things together. The dark matter's between all of it, which is 99% of it. And this 1% of energy and vibration is out there. And it's like all of a sudden it just one day, for some people, it just goes, do you see it? And you're like, holy shit. Oh, wait a minute. Is everything this? Am I this? Is money this? Is everything this? And so all of a sudden when you see some people start doing that and they think that they can stop, what I want to really get in people's heads is, for those of you that are believers, you're always trying to get people to think the way you want them to think while everything is expanding. Everyone that I know of every spiritual belief talks about one thing, this thing called a master plan from whatever created it. Well, if that's true, you're not going to stop it from expanding at 5 miles per second. You don't want the earth to stop spinning, and you don't want everything to be hurled as everything's expanding. So when, Craig brought up, you got this whole group of people in the world that want things to go back. Let me take it one step further. This is why I like hanging around people from other countries. They think a little different, right? Do you guys know that there's people out there that still believe in zodiac signs? So you're a Pisces or you're a Taurus or you're whatever, and some people are unlucky and they get born on
Like,
the
what do you
cusp.
mean? I live in California. They live here.
Yeah. So you're born on the cusp. Listen to this. The universe has expanded so much that we now have a 13th zodiac sign.
That's
and
right,
if you're over 25 years old, there's enough time that's expanded where you're now a different sign than what you were born under.
Yeah, the new horoscope or zodiac.
It's like,
yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, I'm a Pisces. I was born on February 21st, 1962. Well, yeah, at 5 miles per second, the expansions happen, and the planets are not in the same configuration. The stars are not in the same configuration. So you can't just glance up there and see the same pattern saying that I'm a bull. And so I just said this stuff because I'm excited, because I like to be on the cutting edge of this expansion and knowing and getting more wisdom and more, understanding, and just understanding that. So that's why I believe that with everything moving, we always heard this phrase, wow, the older I get, the faster time moves. That's just a true statement. So people are like, wow, doesn't it seem like things are getting faster? And then people can do more multitasking. They can see things and understand them in a matter of seconds, not hours. They can get interest in something in a matter of milliseconds instead of seconds. And it's like everyone's still trying to influence their world based on things that are not even in season. It's like, I tell people all the time, it's like, you're trying to compete against me in an expanding universe that I'm connected to, that I'm continuing to get more connection to. And you're talking about, I just miss having a pager. It's like, what the hell? A lot of people from Hezbollah went from cell phones to pagers. They went back and they're no longer living. Yeah. Who made the decision to get away from phones and go back to pagers? Someone that told them that, hey, they're tracking our phones. We need to go back to old technology. Someone heard about it and made sure that they planted all those people with old technologies, because it was easy to find out who was going to be buying these things. Who in the world right now is buying pagers? Oh, some guy with a thing on his head that thinks he's the emperor and the master of all told all the people to get rid of their cell phones and go to pagers. There was only one group of people in the world buying pagers. That was frickin' brilliant.
Them and doctors.
Well, what's interesting is every point in time that we're talking about things like this, every point in time, there are always people who say, well, it should be done this way. It's always been done this way. And yet, look where we are. How many people at home right now can honestly say they have a phone sitting on their wall? How many people have an antenna on their television? Not too many people. Crazy. And that's, and yet if we went back to that, people would go, well, wait a minute. Where's my MTV? Where's my HBO? Where's my
Netflix.
whatever?
Where's my streaming Netflix?
Where's my streaming Netflix where I can just very easily call up a movie, and it's like, I don't have to go to the movie theater anymore. Heck, I got this. I'm cool. but yet you're not taking into consideration a lot of the things that are happening right now that are, in a sense, a benefit to us.
Right.
What's new, because we are moving forward. We're not going back. And that's the progression, in my opinion. That's the progression of humanity. Are there checks
Yeah.
and balances? Yes, there should be checks and balances, because you don't want to go too fast that you have something blow up in your face or blow up humanity. But at the same time, we have been, in my opinion, we were created to expand who we are. Everything that we have done is in the name of progress in some way, shape, or form. The
Nature grows, flowers
nature
grow,
continues to grow.
trees
Exactly.
grow, everything's growing except people. I heard this statement the other day, Matt. I'd like to also get your feedback on this. That these guys that I was talking to that are out like way out there, right? And one of them said, "Do you know that everything that's ever been created hangs out in the environment that it was created in?" So a tree, a flower, a mushroom, an animal, a fish. Human beings are the only creature that grows up in an environment and immediately makes their environment more difficult.
I think a large part of it is that like, some people are more spiritual and believe that humanity has some form of purpose or whatever, whether it's personal or humanity as a whole has some form of purpose. It's perfectly okay to accept that we're the primates that got the level of intelligence to create tools, and then now we're at this stage where we're creating the next version of whatever that evolution is. I think a lot of people have a hard time dealing with that, and I get it. It's the biggest decision that we've ever had to make.
Right.
Like there's never been a situation in any of our lives that there's something that can think and do things at a level that we can't comprehend. Like we don't, and
It
like you
is the
said, it's like,
it is the
okay,
next level. It's the next level of consciousness. It's just the next level of the rest of the world figuring out, wow, there was a point in the world where people didn't understand that you actually could send a signal through the air. You know what I mean? That was a radio wave. And
yeah.
that changed things because then people didn't have to be connected to a wire.
Well, and you can ask yourself, right, whether you think of organic or synthetic life, right? If you think of those waves and the creation of those waves, and then you can create telescopes, you can do all these things, and you look down to the minuscule level and it's waves as
Mm-hmm.
well. And the more that you start to understand that the difference between those two things is more of just a concept in your mind than
Yeah,
anything. It's like if you asked an AI right now, what makes up a lion and what makes up a human being, it would say pretty much the exact same stuff.
yeah.
It's
And
progress, is that this is the next evolution. I know we've talked about this in the past on these podcasts, where, okay, we've reached our goal. What's next?
Uh,
Okay, we've reached the next goal. What's next? How about
yeah,
the
like
next goal? What's next? It
when
just.
you have people leaving OpenAI and retiring and saying, I've accomplished everything I believe that I can with artificial intelligence, and I just want to spend time with my family and relax from now on. And that's one of 5 people in the last couple of months that were leading OpenAI. You really start to get a grasp for like not only how close we are to AGI, but also that when you have the smartest people on the planet battling it out for something, and then one of them hits it, and now everybody's just kind of going, okay, when's the next step of what we're doing, right? We're not going to really do it. It'd be really, really weird to say, hey, we have AGI right now in an election year, or would it be? Like, do you wait to see who wins the election in the United States and how they want to handle the next nuclear weapon? You know what I mean? Like, in a sense, but the nuclear weapon that has no red button, no red button that you can press.
Right.
And so it's an interesting like question, and I think not a lot of people are thinking about it at all. No one's really
No,
having any conversations about it. It
no.
doesn't come up in debates. It doesn't come up in conversations outside of minuscule things at the UN. I mean,
Hmm.
for
Oprah
interesting.
Winfrey, listen to this. Oprah Winfrey she does one of these specials all the time, right? Maybe two a year, like Barbara Walters used to do. She had Sam Altman on there and a bunch of people from AI. And it was the lowest watch Oprah Winfrey special ever. They said
No,
that
I
a
get it.
majority of the people just went, nah, they're talking about shit I don't care about.
Hey, go on
Ah,
YouTube.
there's the word. There's the word that you just said, Robert. It's what I don't care about.
I
And
don't care
we
about.
and we are so self-centered,
Yeah.
especially in today's society. We are so self-centered with it's got to be about me. It's not about society. It's about me. What can I get? What's benefiting me? Why is this happening to me? When we have to kind of get away from that. Yes, I'm being altruistic when I say that, but the point being is, we are on this planet not just for ourselves, but we are on this planet for everybody because we need other people in order to survive. We need to communicate with other
But the
people and
people I
everything.
need they have to be what I believe they need to be.
Exactly.
And ask yourself, guys, that whole entire thing that you just said, Craig, was a reality, but will not be in 10 years.
Right. Oh gosh, yes, with all of the changes in
For the first
technology and
time in
such.
the history of our existence, that there won't be that question of we need others to survive, and there won't be that question of, well, we need this for interaction or that for interaction. It really will solve all of those fucking problems. And it's
Then
kind of
aren't we in
insane to
a
think
doomsday
about.
situation here? I mean, if I'm just, you know,
No, no.
based on what
No,
you
it's definitely
say, it's
not.
I kind of people are going to go,
I
"Oh
I
my
believe
God, the machines are
I
taking over."
I believe that the parallel universes that have always existed, there'll just be more of them. There'll be people that will live in a world like they live in today, where every day is fucking misery for them.
Basically,
Well,
the
it's all
people that
about
use
mindset.
X.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're depressed, they're lonely, they're dealing with a bunch of stuff that shouldn't have been in their atmosphere, including food, water, and air. So, everything's like all messed up chemically on them, and they just don't know a way out, but they don't believe there's a way out either. And then there just happens to be people by pure luck that grew up around in an environment where, someone actually gave a shit about someone other than themselves. It's like,
Yeah, every
Yeah.
person I've pushed to have personal conversations with GPT, especially O1, have responded with my mental health is drastically increased. There's no beating that. There's no beating that on a human level. That's where it
got it.
is right now. It's never going to get worse than that. It's only going to get better than that. It's going to become more
Explain that
interactive and
more,
more
Matt.
understanding.
Explain that more.
You could have a conversation with ChatGPT right now about some of the most traumatic moments in your life, like a therapist, and it could help you.
Wow.
And that's only going to become more so the case. And every person's going to have a GPT that becomes more trained on them, just like social media has been trained on you. And that's already in the process of working. If any of you guys have used the new OpenAI stuff, you see the little memory updates if you have memory on. So it's remembering things about you. And that's going, it just blows my mind because you could ask everybody 2 years ago, where was this technology? And it didn't exist at all at this level that it does now. And
Wow.
so we're not sitting on a like level of like, uh-oh, we're about to go over the hill. Like we went over the hill 2 months ago. It's just
Yeah.
everyone's just fucking catching up. Everybody sees what I'm doing and goes, how are you doing that? I'm not. I'm not. That's the interesting thing about it.
Say that again. Say that again.
I'm not. I'm not. I've learned how to communicate with AI and train AI because I like to be on the front edge of those. And what's so interesting about it is I was having a conversation with Junior, right? And he goes, I watched this podcast with Joe Rogan there talking about Sora. And I'm like, do you guys remember when Sora was announced? And everyone went, there's no way that that's real. What if
Right.
I were to tell you guys that there are at least five, I can name five separate models right now that can do what Sora can do, and they're out right now before Sora. I've used them. So to think that it's moving faster than they anticipated and expected. Like I said, they expected it to have Mensa level intelligence by 2028. It beat it by 4 years, and that was an estimate from a year ago. If you asked them 2 years ago, they said 2048. So now we're sitting in a situation where you have exponential growth, and we have not even hit Blackwell level training yet, where we have twice as fast GPUs training these models, right?
And then
And you can have conversations with
aren't
them.
those coming out at the end of November?
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is they announced just yesterday or the other day, NVIDIA announced that they've trained their own internal model that's just as good as the current version of GPT. So you have all these governments, you have all these people racing, and then I'm sitting here watching like a debate, and I'm going, I feel like Oppenheimer. If you guys have seen Oppenheimer, like the movie, or
Right.
know enough about
Oh
Oppenheimer,
yeah.
it's like you can see all these people going to war, and they're like, how are we going to get more tanks and stuff? And then you're like looking, you're like, dude, we're making a bomb that could destroy a whole entire city in seconds. Why are we even talking about tanks?
Hmm.
Like we can't,
Yes.
and that's what's so interesting about it, because I saw a post the other day of someone posting on Facebook is like, oh, Donald Trump helped get migrants, or not migrants, helped get people out of the hurricane. And it's like pictures of him lifting children out of the hurricane waters, right? And it's got millions of likes. It's like it's all AI, and
Yeah.
it's the worst it's ever going to be. So it's just interesting to me. And I know I go on these rants often, but it's like,
Well, that's
I feel
that
like I'm
I
screaming
haven't
into a
I
void.
haven't caught up with you, right? And I haven't caught
Yeah.
up with Craig either. And so,
Oh,
I'm
I'm
out
far
doing,
behind Matt as it is.
yeah, I'm out doing what I'm doing, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Well, we all
and
are.
but the world is moving, and it's moving very, very, very fast. It's like me, it took me one presentation, one city, 3 or 4 days to virtually get everyone to stop using PowerPoints. Everyone watched me in front of a group, pull out my phone, and start talking about success stories in a Telegram group. And I go, I just don't understand. I said, and to this whole group, as I was going through the success stories, I go, is there anybody in the room right now that is just not interested? And not one hand went up. And I went, I did that in my 10 minutes on stage. Some of you are doing presentations for hours, and the person gets done and says, I don't get it. How can you put together an hour presentation on PowerPoint and have people in the audience go, I don't fucking get it? You
Yeah,
better
did you
just
guys
you better just show them
right.
wait a minute, I get this. You know what I mean? And it's like it's bizarre to me how we've gone from people feeling like they had to use psychology and manipulation and persuasion, and that's what I actually cannot watch right now on the media and what's going on with politics, because they're actually using shit in my mind that it's documented not to work anymore. It's like a total waste of time for
Well, it
these
works on a
people.
different demographic of people. Like there's a
Right,
there
right,
that's
right.
that's the thing, is that there's a we're sitting in an in-between time between two separate generations of people, and it's never been, I would say it's never been more apparent,
Yeah,
because social media, and this is what I was talking to Junior about too. I'm like, he's like, because we were talking a little bit about politics, and I'm like, you do realize that they're just raiding the coffers for as much as they can before it's all a show, right? Like you guys realize this is all a show that's happening in front of our eyes because they're all totally aware that artificial intelligence is over the corner, and that's why they keep investing in these companies and making millions and billions of dollars with insider trading because they're fully aware that all this stuff is happening behind the scenes. It's the
Yeah.
reason that any of the laws get shot down immediately. Like, it's interesting. They wrote this whole law that was supported by like Anthropic and a couple of other companies in California, right? And this was
I heard
it
about
was
this.
a safety thing. It was to help with like the deep fake stuff. Because, I could train a model on my computer right now and make pictures and videos of anybody I want to.
Right.
And we're at that level now. You know what I mean? It's only going to get cheaper and easier to do. And it went all the way through and
The
they
graphics
passed
that
it.
you made of me, I'm like,
And it's gotten
hitting,
better. Just wait till you see the new
yeah,
ones. Because that was an
I'm
old
like
model.
clicking that positive thing, you know,
Oh yeah. Enhance.
zooming in, and I'm going like I'm see for
Where are the
me,
pixels? Where are the little things
yeah,
that
for
are there?
me, I can see a human being and immediately tell where some of the fake parts are. You know what I'm talking about? It's like your mind looks at it and just goes, "That's not real." And Matt's creating things on me right now that he's sending me, and I'm looking at him and I'm going like, my eyes, my eyes are telling me that's me.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That's
here's an interesting thing. I've seen people. I watched this podcast and it was interesting because there's only a couple other people out there, I think, that are like messing around with this shit like I am. And somebody posted a picture of one of these people on this podcast with this fedora hat on, and it was like, "Oh, don't you remember that week that she was on the podcast and wore a fedora?" And everybody in there was like, "I kind of remember that happening. Never fucking happened."
Never did. Yeah. Well, and
wow.
it's not just
And so
that;
now
it's
you're
also
starting.
sound too.
You remember the old "how do you know things" or whatever of
Yeah,
psychology, where it's like you get
yeah,
enough people to believe something, then it's true.
yeah.
Yes.
If a memory is truthfully in your mind and you can only remember back to it, and we know that that's shoddy at best, then how far back do you go when you go, "Oh yeah, I remember when we had that picnic back in the 1980s. That picnic never happened, but I can make that picture look like it did. I can
Oh
make the
yeah.
videos sure look like it did."
And we've
And
seen
so it's
movies that have come up with characters that are recreations like that, where they're clones and
Yeah.
they don't have any, let's say, real knowledge. It's what's implanted in them. And
just
here
like
is
us.
an exact, yeah, and here's an
It's
example
Blade
What'd you
of,
say,
Runner.
Matt? I didn't catch that.
No, I said just like us. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. I'm messing. If you guys have seen Blade Runner, it's like
yes,
there's
we are
always this
live. We are
thing.
live. We are live. We are.
Look, but we were talking about in this podcast again, it's already been an hour, but it's I guess we could say this in closing, and let's all talk about this because I know you guys
Sure.
got other things to do. I definitely do. It's that it's like all of about the position of letting
Yeah.
go, being optimistic about where it's going, so that you can stay sane. I don't think I've ever said that. It's like the whole concept of sanity is that you mentally create the illusion that you're like okay.
Yeah, it's like whatever way you got to gaslight yourself or the things that you got to say to yourself to make you be able to sleep at night and live a happy life. Like, it's never going to make, and I've gone through this path. It's never going to make you live a happy life if you think artificial intelligence is going to show up and kill you,
Right,
or ruin your life.
right,
So why would you do that to yourself? The reality is whether that happens or not is not in your control. Like, it really isn't in any of our control.
right.
And the truth is too, like, even what Craig was saying, it's like, well, it feels like a doomsday thing. I think that that's all, you know, you can look at any other creature that's existed on this planet before us and with us. They all do things differently than us, and this one will do things differently than us too.
Yeah.
The the one thing human beings are really, really great at is projecting the way that we think and feel on other things, including
Yes.
inanimate objects. So listen, you could say if I don't put these socks on, some bad shit's gonna happen today. That's a
Right. Don't
human
walk
thing.
under a ladder. Don't walk under a
Right.
ladder.
Take the
AI
right
is not
turn as
gonna
opposed to the left turn.
AI is
I
not
mean,
gonna
in
have
so many
socks,
ways.
so they're not gonna be thinking to themselves, "Oh, bad thing could happen if I wore socks." You know what I mean? Like that's a rough example of like the
I,
shit that we
I, I
think
broke
and
a mirror,
feel
so
that
I
is
got
different.
7 years of bad luck.
Oh,
You know what I
Right.
mean?
wait a minute. That's
Exactly.
not new. That's old, Robert. We're
Oh,
talking about what's new.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, I didn't even know these things. You guys don't know how many mirrors I've broken?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, isn't
Someone
that
should have said
funny?
something to me. I've been walking under ladders with my black cat with breaking mirrors.
there you go.
Hey, it sounds like some of them have creeped into your awareness there somewhere. It's like
Oh yeah, I have this saying, right? Because like I'm not a very like spiritual person. But I am very like I don't know. I like to think somewhat ethereal as far as like the universe goes and the cosmos and everything like that. So anytime I have these certain moments in my life happen, like the universe is reaching out and talking to me, right?
are
I've
trying to
always had
connect
this,
with you.
well, just any form of communication, right? And I remember this saying that came out of my mouth when we were visiting Hannah's and my aunt, her aunt, in Florida. And she's like, "Well, what's that feel like? Is that, or do you feel warm about that?" And I said, "I feel like a dog with their hair on their back standing up, staring out into a dark yard. That's how I feel. I feel like I don't know if I'm gonna need to put my tail between my legs and run away. I don't know if I'm gonna need to attack. I don't know. That's an
Right.
interesting, weird feeling, right? And
I
so I
don't
think
have
it's
enough.
50
I don't have
50.
enough. I don't have enough input or enough data to make a decision.
Yeah, it's like, and I've shared with you, Dad. It's like, okay, that's a weird coincidence of things to happen, or that's a weird
Yeah.
way to think. And if I was more religious or was in some form of religion, depending on which one it was, it might be like God's pointing me in the right path, or Allah's pointing me in the right path, or whatever it may be, right? But truth be told, it still would freak me out regardless of any of those things.
Well,
That's just
thanks
who I
for
am.
sharing that,
So
Matt. You've never said that to me. That, and here's when you said that, this is me. I know this is me. Is the hair stands up, the goosebumps step up, and that's where that part of me that's very unique, where I just step into that darkness. I just, I'm okay with whatever is in that backyard. I'm just okay with it. And I
mhm.
know that if I take a step and I go into it, I just get a little more vision. You know, I say it's so dark that I only can see like a foot. Well, if I take a foot step in, I can see another foot.
Yeah, maybe
And
you're the light, you know.
yeah, and
You wanted to
I
do
don't
the
know if
hero's
the word
journey.
I don't know if the word spiritual is it or not. I just believe that like I know people that really struggle with what's going to happen in the future, and then they also struggle with the whole concept of death. And I, at a very young age, I don't know where my head was, but I was totally okay with that. I think there's got to be a part of you that, especially when you're taking risks like racing cars and doing some of the stupid stuff that I've done in my life, right? A 2,500 pound Brahma bull at the age of 14. There's parts of me that just go, hey, this is the only way I'm going to experience this, and it might turn out bad. And I'm going to learn a lesson from that. I'm just going to get better at it. And so, you know, people I've noticed there was a lot of people that reached out to me and they go, I don't understand how you can just jump on a plane and you go to another country and you don't even know if there's someone, you don't know anybody there. And I'm going like, but that's how I met them. It's like I've never traveled to Bratislava before. And I got there. I found out where the hotel was. I met some people there and had a great time. And then I had to get up the next day and find myself a way back to Vienna, Austria. And it's like, you know, like here, there's so much competitive, not to get off track, But I always watch that Uber documentary where there's this incredible documentation, like Craig brought up. It's like, damn it, this is the taxi cabs, and we're not letting these motherfuckers in. They're changing the way we're doing business. Well, not saying which one's better or not, but in other countries, they just go, hey, what if we just make Uber part of the taxi cab? There's no competition here. So all the taxi cabs are working for the taxi company, but they're also Uber drivers.
Right.
What a concept. It
And
wasn't
they probably get paid more
it
than they
wasn't
do here.
competition there. The taxi cab looked at it and said, listen, we need to strike a deal with these guys because there's millions of people walking around with a fucking app on their phone.
It's
We,
like, wait a
we
minute, you're telling me you can't have venture capital people show up, give you billions of dollars so you can run a company in the red to accumulate sales and customers and drivers. And then the moment that you put the taxi cab companies out of business, break up the prices to a point where you're the only service in town. What type of American approach is that, you know?
it's not.
Capitalism.
It's honestly, but it's analytical it's
Yes.
capitalism with heavy analytics. Like the truth
But
of it
it's
is like
what's new. It's the taking the technology and taking what we are
Yeah.
consistently developing and working on and using it to our benefit. And it's not it's you know, you want to pay homage to how we got to this point in time,
Right.
but once you open what is it? Once you open the Pandora's box, you can't close it. That's where we are with AI. That's where we are with
I
technology.
didn't
That's where
even
we
know
are with
that.
so many
I didn't know
things.
that was a rule even. I don't know what a port Pandora box is. And I didn't know that once you opened them up, you couldn't close them.
Yeah, that
it's
was the
like the
whole.
breaking mirrors. He should have known
Yeah.
that sooner. Yeah,
So,
but as far as everything goes, like I know we're coming to the end of this podcast and stuff here, but I just love and appreciate you guys. I'm glad that we're back to having these conversations because I
right.
think it's just fun and as far as the future goes for where I think things are going, I think the most optimistic as far as this AI stuff goes in general. If you guys wanted my personal opinion, I think we're going to have some of the best years in the history of humanity moving forward. And that's not going to change.
No.
Everybody looks at certain things and goes, man, things are so unstable right now. And it's like you realize that every single time before things were really good, they were unstable.
Always.
Like that's the
Always.
thing. Those are the things that develop people and grow people. And I think
There
no
was there
matter
was
what happens, there'll be more connection because of it.
I know
So
we are talking about I know we are talking about ending the podcast, but we'll just say that let's do a part two next Friday. Um,
sure.
but I'll leave you guys with this. I was talking with some guys that were just like, they weren't born and raised up in the propaganda machine that I was, and so to hear some of the things that they were talking about where we don't get to hear it on our news here. But everyone just said this little statement. They were saying, technology right now is what's stopping Russia for destroying Ukraine. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they were talking about the same thing with the pagers and walkie-talkies with Israel and Hamas. And they were saying that they told me this guy's name, and he's from Sweden, and he's teaching kids how to modify and build bombs to put on drones. And the drones are taking out missile bases, they're taking out aircraft, they're taking out Abraham tanks. And he's just teaching this group of kids that are all under 22, 23 years old. And they're like, he's teaching them how to build the drones, he's teaching them how to mount them with a warhead on it, he's teaching them how to fly it. And it's like Matt said in part of this podcast, is like there's a group of people out there that are talking about using ancient stuff. We're supposed to be
Oh yeah, I was talking about because Junior's doing all the gun stuff. He's
yeah.
totally on the same page with me because he's like he'll have those guys because he lives in Arizona and they're like, "Are you learning this to protect your family or what if the government or this or that?" And we were joking and I'm like, "Did you guys all see that video of that Ukrainian drone dropping the lava on top of the people?" Yeah, I don't think that the guns shooting them at the thing dropping lava from the sky is gonna It's
now.
just a different game you're playing now. It's not
Yeah,
How do you
it's
think
like
the
watch
Chinese
some
felt?
episodes of Black Mirror, and you'll
yeah.
see.
Yeah. How do you think a lot of people felt when the Chinese developed explosives, and how do you defend that with swords and shields and knives and or the
Yeah,
machine gun for
where
like
the hell did gunpowder come
You
from?
gotta
All of
you
a
gotta
sudden,
exactly.
adapt.
Yeah.
overnight, it's like, wow, we can project a piece of metal towards someone. It's like, yeah,
Imagine
I'm
how
just
many good
very,
things and bad things came from that.
yeah. And
Hmm.
in ending the conversation here, I just think that we should carry this on next week, give people something that to look
We'll just
forward
call
to.
it "What's New" with Robert Hollis.
Yeah. And,
What's
and,
new, part two?
yeah, what's new? Part two. The poet didn't even know it.
That's right.
Craig, why don't you go ahead and close us on out? Because I know we could keep talking. I know we could keep talking, and it would get interesting. And as long as I'm talking to you two from different perspectives, that's what stimulates my mind. And I've just made a decision because I have that power to be extremely happy each and every day and optimistic and plugging into whatever news is going to happen. I love when Matt said that because I, people can look at me and you look at my Facebook memories, and what blows me away is how fast I change. There used to be the statement that I heard long ago is that someone said, "What do you love about yourself?" And you don't have any answer. And I can go through my Facebook memories for 10, 15 years and go different, 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 just constantly pivoting, 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 making it better, pivoting. And while everyone else is thinking that things are disappearing, I'm already gravitating towards something new.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's
Yeah.
what makes life so exciting, though, right? Like this
Yeah.
AI stuff came at a really perfect time right after COVID, and man, I feel like the more I inspire people about it and the more I use it, the more I feel like how lucky are we? How lucky are my future children? How lucky are, Ryder and Olive, like me and Junior talking about
So happy and grateful,
different
man.
different frame of everything. So that's great. So love you guys. This was
Love you
awesome.
too. That was awesome.
Love
Craig,
Yeah.
you got any last words?
No, I think we've covered quite a bit just on today alone, and I'm glad that we're thinking about a part two because picking up this conversation is so enlightening and it's motivating because when you think about it, this is the direction we're going. And I know I've said it a couple of times during this podcast. We can't go back. So if we can't go back, let's live for today and plan for tomorrow.
I could find an island where, I'm not even using electricity, but
Well, it's like,
I think that people right away, if you gave them their own island, they would be pretty picky on what kind of technology they would allow in.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's like, well, can I have electricity? I sort of like used to electricity, and I sort of like hot water. That'd be pretty fucking cool. And I don't mind it when the temperature is in the house is exactly where I want it to be.
Hmm.
Whether it's cold outside or hot outside. So people say that they don't like technology, but if you dropped them someplace, they would
yeah.
immediately write out a list of fucking shit. Hey,
Where's
can
my
I
air conditioning?
this?
Where's
Can
my
I?
car to get around the island?
And a couple hundred years ago, those were only things for kings and queens. So
Yep.
That's right.
that's how it's going to be in the future. So we'll all
So,
have our own personal assistants and butlers, huh? So
nice, nice. I'm okay.
Yeah, that's great. If it moves us forward. All right. Well, wow. What a thank each and every one of you for watching. You can follow Robert Hollis at roberthollis.com. Also, if you'd like to join our exclusive communities, the Inner Circle, and Imaginators. You can join us by going to roberthollis.com/join to register. There will be lots of great information, exclusive content, and you'll be able to participate in our special breakthrough sessions to help you move to the next level. Please don't forget to like and share this video on YouTube as well as with others. It will help us grow our community and reach those with ears to hear. Thank you again, and a big shout out to our executive producer, Matt Hollis. Matt, bless you. Thank you so much for being a visionary, and of course, master visionary, master imaginator, our GPS to success, Robert Hollis.
Glad to have him back.
And thank you. Yes, so glad to be back, and we have more unlimited wisdom to share in the weeks to come, months to come, years to come. And we want to thank you for joining us and being a part of today's unlimited wisdom. My name is Craig Jackman. Until next time, please be good to yourselves. Be cash and have a great weekend, and